How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the Pressing Forward podcast. Today we're going to be talking about coping through injury. Um, as you know, whenever you play a sport, whether that be basketball, whether that be football, soccer, whatever the case, injuries are part of the game. And though they're part of the game, they're not always easy to maneuver through. They're not easy to. The experience is hard, and just to introduce, why that's important, because a lot of the time, which ties into last week's topic of, sort of finding yourself outside of the sport, because when an injury happens, sort of your identity is taken away in a sense. Part of who you are, especially like you play at the college level and even at high school level, part of you, you might be known as that guy, so to speak. You might have been at the top of your game at one point, and suddenly an injury happens, and you're no longer seen as that person. So, that could be a blow to who you are as an individual and who you kind of see yourself as. You know, but yeah, it's huge, and just from personal experience, I've dealt with a series of injuries, that during the time it was not cool, just to going through the whole rehab process. Luckily, I was fortunate not to have one of those, major injuries to where like an ACL or MCL, but I had teammates that went through some of those, and one that's truly like a mental hurdle. Just going through that daily grind, that everyday grind is tough. So just dive into a couple of some of the common questions, like worry questions that you kind of go through when you're going through some of those injuries. You sort of asking yourself like, what exactly is this year going to look like? And not only from the perspective of, the on the field aspect, but also, off the field. That could be, your social life. How's that going to be affected? What your role on the team is for the year. When that injury happens, your role changes so gradually. So instantly, that you kind of like, sort of stuck there trying to figure things out. And then like trying to really find your place on the team after an injury. That's really huge too, in terms of just, what purpose do you kind of serve on the team now? Now that you're injured, you're on the sideline, trying to figure out, how you can be a contributing factor to your team now that you're not out there being able to participate. And then, some of the things that commonly happen is like, in an injury, at times you get in like a dark place, mentally, in terms of just like where your thoughts go. And, from speaking to people and hearing people's experiences. And then also just being there and being in that position at one point. You sort of, the coping mechanism, which is not really a healthy coping mechanism, you sort of kind of separate yourself. You start isolating yourself, feelings of helplessness. You start questioning your self-worth, which is tough. It's extremely tough. And this is not things, that, necessarily you can, you can't ready yourself for an injury. Like mentally, you can't ready yourself to be like, oh, when I get injured, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that. It sort of just happens, and you kind of have to figure things out as you go. And I remember, what was it, my sophomore year, this is in college, my sophomore year, that summer, I remember that I was grinding. Like when I tell you, like I was on the field like every single day, like every day. I didn't take like a day off. And I remember my coach, he came up to me one day. This is my head coach, Coach Ferrante. He came up to me and was like, you should probably give it a rest sometimes. And me being young and not really knowing too much in terms of just like taking care of your body and the recovery aspect of things. I could go out there and I felt like I could just keep doing that, keep putting that out there. I had the energy, I had the vitality to do it. So I'm like, you know what, I might as well go out there and try to get this work in, try to get this money, man. So but yeah, he had told me that. I didn't really think too much of it. And then time goes on and camp rolls around. This is summer camp, football camp, summer football camp rolls around, and the first group practices I'm good, and then it was a routine back pedal break, get out your break, and I was backpedaling, made the plank, and all I heard was like a little pop in the middle of my foot. I didn't think too much of it. It felt like an ankle at first. It just felt like I might have just tweaked it a little bit, and then come to find out I had a list frame injury. So I ended up missing like half that season that year. So it was just during that time I was just questioning a lot, because I just remember how much work I put in like before that, and I'm like, damn. Now you gotta move down the depth charts, and now you're worrying about when you're gonna get back. If you're gonna get your spot back. How you're gonna get your spot back. So yeah, it was definitely a tough time. And then the rehab part is usually your rehab is probably the part where that it gets you sometimes, because it's just like it's more of a mental grind every single day that you kind of come to the facility, the training, and you work with the trainers every day. You come in and do your whatever they have for you to do that day, whether they give you a card or take you through a series of exercises. And when you're on the injury, say it's I was out for like 6 weeks, 7 weeks. So for 6 weeks, you're kind of doing that for the most part every single day. And the way our training works, like if you were injured, you had to come a lot earlier. You had to come earlier before we started practice, and you had to do your rehab then. And then after, you would do whatever you can. And if you're not fully, they say that there's a difference between injury and being hurt. But if your whole body's not injured, essentially, you're still gonna lift somehow. So you're still lifting with the team, unless you fully can't. But for the most part, if you had something like an ankle, you're still on the boot, and they're gonna find a way for you to lift, work around your injury. So you going through that, and then you're going through the mental aspect of it as well. So yeah, that can kind of take a toll sometimes, but I think it's always, and that's the one thing that I learned through a lot of the injuries was just learning my perspective. And then it taught me a lot about just taking care of my body. Like after that one injury, like I can't tell you, that it switched the whole gear in terms of just being more in the facility, and rather than being reactive, I was being more proactive, to where so it was rather than being, did I say that right? Yeah, I think I said that right. So doing prehab rather than rehab. So I just started spending a lot more time in the facility in terms of just like taking care of my body, cold tub, hot tub, getting in the recovery boots, massages, so a bunch of other things. So it just taught me, more so how to take care of my body, and then just also eating the right foods, and all those things count. You know what I'm saying? You can't put a bunch of toxins and a bunch of bad food, bad eats in your body and expect to, thrive at your highest level. So through those injuries, they definitely taught me how to really take care of my body, and then just taught me a lot of patience in terms of just knowing that, while you're injured, it's not just gonna, you get injured and now you're sort of trying to see the end goal, and it's not gonna happen in one day. So it's really a matter of really being patient with yourself, and just looking at the injury from a day-to-day perspective. and approaching it with the mindset of, today is the day that I have to worry about, not worrying about too long about, where I want to get. Because, you're going to have an idea in mind of where you want to get in terms of, when I get back, I'm going to be 10 times better. I'm going to be on my, I'm going to be on my A game. But, you really have to just look at it one day at a time and really approach it with the right mindset in terms of getting back and really, getting back into the fold. But yeah, in terms of just anyone who might be dealing with an injury now, I would say, some of the things that you can look at is, and then during that time, I spent a lot of time alone. So because of that, I started reading more and trying to obviously learn how to take care of my body. But one of the books that I would recommend, I think I have it here. Let's see. It's the book called Champion's Mind, which was a book that I actually bought while I was going through that injury. And let's see right here, The Champion's Mind. And it talks a lot about just, the mindset of the game. And, there's a lot of narratives drawn from Olympic athletes, professional athletes, in terms of just your mindset and rehab, your mindset to practice, the way you approach practice, things like that. So I would definitely recommend this book for any athletes. And it's not just athletes, to be honest, because you carry this mindset throughout life. So, but yeah, definitely recommend this book. And then also, just a takeaway, when you're going through this injury, and it's important to set realistic goals for yourself in terms of, the time you want to get back, how you want to be when you get back. And because I think at times when you get injured, like I said before, you sort of had this picture of who you want to be and, how your game wants to be when you get back. But it's sort of setting realistic goals, and as athletes, that's kind of how we're wired anyways, to set certain goals and to be able to hit those targets. So setting realistic goals for yourself, and a popular acronym is called SMART. So what that means is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And the S I just spoke on, the measurable is can this goal for yourself, can it be measurable? Can you see the work that you're putting in? Can you make progress of it in terms of writing things down and evaluating those things? And then attainable, just make sure that you can accomplish these goals within a certain time frame. And then relevant is goals should align with your certain vision and your long-term objectives. And then lastly, it should be time-based. There should be a certain end date for when you want to accomplish these certain goals. And then a huge thing too, which my coach, my DB coach, he talked a lot about this as well. And this is something that was also in that book that I just recommended as well, was visualization. And that's huge. And just having a picture for yourself, and visualizing yourself getting back and being your best. You know what I'm saying? So just being able to see that for yourself. And I read a study too, not too long ago. I think it was maybe for one of my classes, I'm not sure. But I think they compared an athlete that used visualization with an athlete that didn't, and sort of had a pessimistic attitude about their injury. And it showed that the individual that was able to visualize and had more of a positive approach and a positive mindset to their recovery process actually recovered faster, which is crazy. But don't fact check me. You can fact check me on it. Look at it if you want to. But that was just interesting to see that as well. And then just focus on being present. Be present with yourself. Like I said before, it's sort of taking it day by day, one day at a time. Not looking too far ahead to where you want to get to, but knowing that, you have to have patience with yourself. And regardless of you're injured, regardless of it, that time has to pass anyways for you to get back to where you want to get. And then being patient with that. And then also just, respect the fact that you have feelings as an individual. When you are sidelined from the game that you put so much, that you dedicate so much to, there's going to be some feelings attached to that. And, not sort of, trying to suppress those feelings. And really take the time to really feel those feelings. You might go through, they say the 5 stages of grief, which is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and sort of an acceptance that comes with that as well. So being able to recognize those feelings is one. And then just, if you have a supportive system around you, whether that be your trainers, whether that be your teammates, whether that be your family members, being able to accept the help that they might offer towards you. Because I know for one, at times, you're an athlete, you kind of don't want to, you want to do things on your own, especially males. You kind of have this, bravado, whatever you want to call it, of, just being able to take care of yourself and, be independent, do your own thing. But during this time, you might actually need the help. So reaching out to people, accepting whatever help is offered towards you. And that might be, from a professional, seeking professional help, whether it's a sports psychologist, whether it's a counselor on campus. Don't be too prideful to reach out and ask for help. That's something that, I had to really learn too, is to kind of let my pride down a little bit. Still working on that, not perfect. But yeah, and then, control the controllables. They always say that. That's a common phrase within the game. Is to control what you can control. And, in your position now, what you can control is your thoughts, your mindset, your approach to how you, show up every single day, your attitude towards, not only your teammates, but also yourself, your coaches, your classmates. So, keeping a positive mindset and approaching it the right way is huge. Just owning your situation and just know that, if you can, keep a positive mindset about your injury and you can keep a certain perspective knowing that, there's something I can learn from this injury. There's something that, I can use this injury as a time to get better at something, right? You might have a little more time on your hands, so, you might be able to venture off and do other things. So just being able to look at it from the right perspective, and just knowing that, it's not just going to happen in a day, and you're going to get back. You're going to get back, and, to anybody who's, currently dealing with an injury, just stay strong-minded. Continue to have positive thoughts towards yourself. Continue to approach it the right way, and you'll be back sooner than later. So I'm wishing healthy recovery, and to those who are may have dealt with injuries or whatever the case may be, stay up, man. Stay up, and I hope that everyone who's listening, who's listened, you have a great day, and I'm out of here.